Hey, Spuddies, PotatoMcWhiskey here, and welcome to Civilization 6. And today we'll be playing as Japan with a very simple constraint. We are not allowed to put a district down unless it has +3 adjacency. And this is going to pretty heavily change how we play the game. The one thing we do have going in our favour is we are playing as Japan, so all of our districts receive an additional standard adjacency bonus for being adjacent to another district, which means all of my districts get +1. I'm going to have to rely heavily on districts that don't have adjacency, right? Encampments can never get adjacency, entertainment complexes can never get adjacency, and I think these don't break the rule. And so I think they're totally valid choices. But enough about that, let's talk about our starting location. A very heavy sugar start here. Now, they want me to settle maybe on the Mercury. I can kind of see a Mercury settle. It's a little bit awkward. I would almost prefer to settle in the sugar. The problem is with this sugar settle, yeah, I've got a little bit of a problem. How do I explain the problem that I have? Basically, I don't have any room to use my government plaza as a way to get easy adjacency. Unless I move to this sugar, 1, 2, 3, I place a government plaza here and hope that we can build something around this. Well, let's see if that works for us. It might actually work. We could settle a city right here. We'll be able to place a harbour that has at least +3 adjacency, +4 in actuality. We can always place harbours if we settle coastally. That's something I should have considered actually as Japan. Japan can always place a harbour in this challenge. But what I was thinking of is if my government plaza is down here and I had a city, say, I don't know, there, and then maybe like another city somewhere over here. I know that's probably like too awkward in terms of range, but we'll figure that out. Maybe we'll move it down like here a tile. We could make use of this little area here for district adjacency in the early game. We would have to wait until we have government plazas to do that. So it's a little bit awkward. I do like the idea here of settling on a 4-food sugar tile. This will give us huge growth tempo in the early game, which should result in really, really good culture and science tempo. The question is it worth it to get this growth tempo on the sugar in exchange for the lack of production? I reckon if I go for mining and I build a builder, improve both of these stones. Do I want to go builder first? I've been kind of tempted by builder first in a lot of my games here. I almost want to go to irrigation. Here's my thought process. If I go to irrigation, well, no, I want to get two food, 2 production tiles as early as possible. So I'm going to open with mining. I think that's going to be the plan, and I'll get a builder at some point here. But I reckon a scout is still one of the most valuable opening tools you can get. Even just a single scout can change the game for you. Yoink, I just got a free scout. Now, does that mean I now switch to a builder? I think it does. The early quarries here could be critical to my game plan. See, now this is very awkward. This is very, very awkward. I needed just one land tile here to make it so that this whole scenario over here would actually work. And I did not get that land tile, which is going to make my life quite difficult. Hoping for a good tribal village, another recon unit. So I'm definitely glad I didn't build a scout myself. So now, unfortunately, I am going to have to settle off of fresh water, but at the very least, there is room here for a couple of high adjacency harbours, which should carry me into the late game, and I can make full use of this government plaza from Kyoto. I tell you what, Kupe is honestly the last person that I want to see right now. I really don't want him settling on my island. Yoink, another tribal village, and a relic! Oh man, well, here's the thing. I want to go for a holy site, but I don't think I have a tile that has +3 adjacency. So at the very least, I'll get a very early pantheon. Perhaps I could grab the settler pantheon and make do with that as my religious belief. Ooh, we found Mitla. Nice to meet you, Mitla. I was the first person to meet Mitla, so I am getting that +1 science in my capital and in every library building. We're also going to get a 15% growth rate boost in cities with a campus district. Have to have a little bit of a think about what our actual game plan is long term here. Like, how are we going to win the game? We got even more food. That's beautiful. Genuinely beautiful. We're soon going to hit our growth limit. I think when we get to 4 pop, I'm going to start working these quarries. And it looks like, in fact, I am on a small island. I did meet Bandar Brunei. I was not the first to meet Bandar Brunei, but their missions are relatively easy. Train an archer and train a heavy chariot. Those are very achievable. Probably not until the classical era. I could maybe do Ancient Era Archer, but that would require me to like sort of divert my entire build to that. Now I'm going to go ahead and prioritize production over growth. I think now that we're at 4 population, growth is falling off in terms of value. The nice thing about being Japan is you do get that +5 combat strength on coastal. So it's almost like you have the anti-barbarian card plugged in from turn 1. Quite handy actually. So we picked up mining. I do think our goal will be to get plantations up super early here in order to be able to engage in luxury trading diplomacy. I also need to get harbours very, very early. That's going to be a linchpin of my early game strategy, is harbours and trade routes, which is honestly one of my favourite styles of play. So starting off as a coastal biased civ like Japan, I'm pretty happy with. My capital city will be inland, but basically every city that I settle this game will be coastal. And they kind of have to be coastal in order for me to survive here. Right, there's Code of Laws. We'll plug in Discipline. We don't need God King for a Pantheon, so we'll plug in Urban Planning. That's a nice +1 production. We should get a Pantheon this or next turn. I think I would like to go for an early trader this game. How important is it to me to get an early trader? I think it's relatively important. Yeah, I'm going to go for the early trader. Now I need to be scoping out any reefs. So let's have a look. I found 0 reefs. Now I am playing with a randomized map, so there will be weird little anachronisms that you won't be expecting on this map. Yoink, I stole a tribal village from Coupe. Thank you very much, Coupe. Boosted military tradition, got myself 30 gold. Speaking of things, Coupe would pay me 55 gold for my luxury. I think I would like a little bit more gold. We could get a free settler. That is a really good tempo boost. I could also get a free builder and get a 10% growth boost. Both of these are actually quite good here. I think this is really, really good tempo. The question is there anything here that would really help my long-term tempo? God of the Sea. God, let me just have a look. How much fish is there around my land? Like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fish. What about crabs? There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. God, it's too much production. As much as I want that early settler, I do think God of the Sea is the right move here. Because it's kind of necessary in a coastal game. If you get God of the Sea, it gives you just such a huge advantage over your enemies. Right, we have pottery, which unlocks the granary. We don't have a need for a granary right now. That's more of a mid-game thing once we start hitting our pop cap. Now, speaking of pop cap, we are at 5 out of 8 here in my capital. And so the best thing to do will be to make sure that I'm buying tiles and prioritizing production and not food, at least until I have more housing. I do not need this surplus food, so I should be buying tiles with production. Ideally, they would be improvable tiles, but just production tiles in general suits me perfectly fine. And there's the boost for masonry. Perfecto for building a quarry. You build a quarry, you boost masonry. Now, the real dream would be maybe to go double builder here. Do I want to go double builder? It's a very unorthodox opener, but I do have the population to justify it, as well as the tiles to justify it. Maybe if these were high food tiles that I could improve with a builder to give me more production, the fact that they will give me gold is less important to me. I would much rather just get my first 2 settlers out. Yeah, I'm just going to go quick double settler here. Then I'll grab myself irrigation and I'll head towards sailing into celestial navigation. Harbours are going to be the linchpin of my early game. I could steal a builder from Mitla, but I really don't want to damage my relationship with them this early. There's our 3rd quarry up in the capital, giving us the boost towards craftsmanship and increasing the production in the capital by 3, which is honestly about a 33% production increase in this city. So that's pretty damn good for the early game. We're not playing with secret societies or anything like that. I used to play with them all the time, and I've kind of gone off them now. I should maybe turn some of them back on for one of my next games. They are kind of like, they're nice a la carte options, but I think sometimes they change the game just a little bit too much. Now that we're below our population threshold, I'm going to force work a little bit of extra food to see if we can get that growth time down to 1 turn. And then the next turn I'll go back to working production. Because I want to be at that high population number so that I can work the maximum number of tiles, but also be getting the maximum amount of science and culture from passive population gain. Because you gain about half a science at about 0.3 of a culture per pop in your cities. So growing a couple of turns earlier will net me a little bit of resources. Now the trade-off is like a lot of production, but I think that might be worth it because I'll get all that production back basically immediately once I start working those production tiles. So I think it's fine. But there's foreign trade. It would be wonderful if I could afford to buy a trader. How do you feel about this? So that has actually gone down in value. So you must have got your hands on some luxuries. Now that we have foreign trade, we have to think about our next point. I think we're going to be heading pretty fast to the state workforce end of things. So we'll start our job or our journey there. Looks like we got a barb camp spawn down here, which I'm not a huge fan of, but I do have troops in position to potentially pinch it off, and then I'll be able to bring over this warrior to finish it off as well. Let's drop our first city settlement here. Happy days. There's Fukuoka. And I could even swap a high food tile to Fukuoka because Kyoto doesn't need it anymore. And this will give this city huge growth tempo, even at a low coastal growth number. Now the problem is this city will lack production. That's not a problem. A builder from the capital will improve all of the coastal fish, and that'll give them some production. In the meantime, it would be nice to build a granary. If I were to grow more population in here, what are they going to do? Work more 2 food tiles? That doesn't really matter. I think the big thing here is to get the monument. By getting the monument, I get to my government faster, and then that's exactly what we want to be doing. Right, let's kill that scout. Yoink. So I have stolen the tempo on the barb camp, and I should be able to take it over. No problemo. Another barb camp spawned over here, actually. So we will have to deal with that. Let's move you there. You can't make it to there. Oh, well, that's a problem then. Stand here, and you go ahead and slap this barb camp around. I'll take a promotion on you, and you should be able to very easily clear that out. There's sailing, so we have access to fishing boats. We are going to want a galley or 2 if we can manage it. Let's get to work on astrology, and then we want to get celestial navigation. We definitely want to improve 2 sea resources, if at all possible. And it should be fairly possible for us to do that. All right, so big slap from you. Can you get the kill? There you go, lovely. The scout got the kill, so the scout will level up, and there's bronze working. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. We're getting lots of tech boosts. Getting tech boosts is really, really valuable. I think a few people kind of underestimate them, but they're super handy. We've unlocked craftsmanship. I don't think there's anything in here we would really like to plug in. Maybe, actually, if I were to go and plug in Ilkum for a moment and crank out a quick pair of builders for the crabs, for the fish. What else would we improve? There's a mine here that I could hit. I could also, well, I already have irrigation, so I could start improving all these luxuries, which would allow me to sell these off for no problem. I'm going to just take the 3 gold per turn. I'm not going to get much better of a deal, and I may as well start rinsing them now. Here's the real question, though. What am I going to use this government plaza network for? I don't know. Why is there a barbarian horseman here? Who are you? Why are you here? Get out of here. This is actually quite nice. There's a few fish tiles out in the far deep waters, and I can also see another sieve. I could buy tiles out to meet them and make friends with them that way. Now, this city is very, very low production, so it's gonna need gold injection in order to get these fishing tiles. I'm probably, in order to make this city just full stop useful, I'm going to have to invest almost all of my early game gold into buying these fishing tiles, which feels quite bad. However, at the very least, the city will generate some of that gold that it's going to be demanding. So it's not all bad. I need to get this horseman out of here. He's like annoying me. Look at him. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, the Lord says he can get me out of this mess. Right. Well, this is a bit of a pickle, isn't it? What do we do here? I reckon we just fortify and we're fine. I can purchase a slinger in the near future. If I'd met another player, I could have traded them my luxury, but I don't have that luxury now, do I? Don't have the luxury of doing that. But I reckon if I just fortify in position, we should be fine. Yeah, they're being very, very aggressive. That's okay. I'll be able to buy a slinger very, very soon. Do you know what? I would like about 15 gold, and I'll trade you Coupe. 2 gold per turn. For 15 gold, that'll let me grab myself a slinger, and then this city should be perfectly defended. Yeah, because they'll start attacking the city, which means they will hurt themselves. I get a boost for archery out of that, so I'm very happy. I don't think there's a reason to improve these sugar tiles anymore. I think improving 2 of them is fine, so I just have a couple of spare luxuries. I'm going to spend most of these 4 build charges on getting fishing tiles up. In fact, I'm going to go for a 3rd builder here, because if I think about the tiles I want to improve, I want 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I've only got 4 build charges, and then this will be the last builder that I make, essentially for the entire early game, and then I'll be able to switch out Ilkum to monuments. We are looking towards the end of the era. It's coming up now. Let's drop a mine here. The city definitely needs the plus production. I think I can kill this horse archer, no problem. I'm amazed that this instantly triggered an attack on me. I'm kind of baffled by that, to be honest with you. That's a very surprising thing. But now we have a 3 food, 1 production, 1 gold tiled in Takamatsu, which is much more viable. I had wanted to spend all my gold in expanding the city's tiles, but unfortunately I had to spend some of it on a slinger, which I'm not particularly happy about, if I'm going to be frank and honest with you. I'd love to get that cocoa. Yeah, I think getting a 3rd builder here is the right choice. It just gives me much more flexibility with my tile setups. Let's take a promotion on this guy so he does massive damage, and then I'll take a promotion on you just so you're more healthy. Otherwise we're fortified against this barbarian horde that's come for us. Can't quite afford another tile, but I will buy the crab tile and work it because it's worth 3 gold. And since a builder just spawned, I can put this tile, this quarry at risk of pillaging by killing this. Now, dedications. We're not going for a religion, so Exodus doesn't make any sense. We are not building that many districts, so monumentality doesn't make sense. We can do quite a few Eurekas here, so I think free inquiry might be the right choice. For example, we could own 2 galleys, we could build 3 different specialty districts, we can make a trade route, we might be able to find a pasture if we research animal husbandry, we can mine resources. There's a lot we can do here. Yeah, there's a lot we can do here in terms of Eureka boosting if I go for free inquiry, so that's going to be what we do. Let's buy the crabs and then we'll improve the crabs. It'll take a little while for those crabs to pay themselves off, but they will eventually. Now this city has a housing issue, so we don't need to prioritize food, we'd rather prioritize gold and production, so that's what we'll do. Ooh, Naval is actually huge. That's an incredibly lucky find to get Naval. It's a bit of a game changer. That might be numero uno priority. Now, heavy chariots have just jumped up in my priority list very high because it'll give me 2 envoys and 2 city-states I don't have an envoy in. So I think our first goal after Celestial Navigation is to get bronze working and hope that we hit iron so we can mine a resource. Alternatively, I'll buy the salt. I don't have anywhere in my empire that I think like iron appearing would ruin my plans. Now, I do think it's time that we talk about Japan's bonuses a little bit. In terms of our game plan, everything we've done up to this point has been fairly standard, right? Set up a coastal eco, set up an eco, you know, just really, really standard basic stuff. But now we have to kind of think about what is our actual like early game strategy? Like what's our transition point? We're going to go harbors, obviously. We're going to go 3 city harbors with a government plaza. But what's our transition play from that? What is the government we're going to go for? And I reckon we're going to go for a relatively tall game with audience chamber because we're going to have a lot of food from our coastal tiles and our land is relatively low production, so we want the high amenities and lots of growth. The nice thing about Japan is they're a very flexible civilization. They can go for religion. Think about what's the easiest adjacencies that I can pick up. But I think there's obviously like literally any district can go here, like a campus or whatever. That's the nice thing. But I do need these 2 positioned in a way. You see, if I put a, well, do I want to go campuses or do I want to go theater squares? Do I want to go for a culture game? I don't necessarily hate it. Japan does have a strong culture game. Japan isn't a bad scientific civilization. They aren't a bad culture civs, and they aren't a bad Japan can really do anything, is the thing. So it's really just a question of what do we want to do? And I think maybe some kind of naval domination game would be quite interesting here. So perhaps a couple of early theater squares to cement our culture gain, with maybe a campus as well to further solidify it. And then I could do something like an aqueduct here, pop down an industrial zone in the long term. That's all she wrote for this. I know this is kind of tentative plans. I'm not sure if this is exactly what I want to do, but I do feel like that early culture is really quite useful on Japan. Unless we want to do like a super hardcore top half of the tech tree rush, which is possible as Japan, and then use the electronics factory culture to make up for the fact that we didn't go for culture. And yeah, I like that plan. I like the plan of a low culture science game where we have a culture explosion from the electronics factory in the mid game. So this is shaping up to be a pretty interesting setup, I think. And we've got the makings of a very, very powerful muscle over here. So I need to start thinking about what my priorities in terms of tile improvements are. I've got 3 build charges and I've got 1, 2, 3 fish tiles. So I can improve 1 more tile on land. And I think it is going to be this cocoa here. And then the next 2 build charges will be used on these. Because I think just having access to amenities is like quite valuable. It prevents a negative, you know. Right, there's harbors. We can now harvest fish and crabs, although we won't be doing that. We also have to think about, are we going to be going for mausoleum here? This is a coastal game, and it's a really, really good wonder. You know, Fukuoka is a pretty good candidate for it, I think. But maybe a mausoleum, I think. This game does make sense. Right, we got state workforce. Now, government plazas are an exception. Districts that don't have adjacency don't get the restriction. That would be like I think that's a pretty reasonable thing to do. I think a more extreme version of the challenge is you can't build districts that don't get adjacency. So you wouldn't be able to get like aqueducts or government plazas or diplo quarters. That might be a more advanced version of the challenge, but I can't have anything below a 3. Now we need to think about what our first governor is. in my current position, I don't have a huge amount of chops in my land. Like if we take a look at what chops are available to me, they're all kind of bad jungle chops. And then like there's only a handful of woods that I'm probably going to want to keep. So if my production is bad, then Magnus is not a very useful one. And I think in a coastal game, you're probably better off trading internationally. So we're not going to be using surplus logistics. In fact, I think we just skip Magnus this game and we don't recruit him at all. Liang will come later. I think we might just go Pingala for Connoisseur. Or we could do a world tour with Amani. You know what? Amani World Tour for Era Score isn't bad. I'll pop her into Mitla to grab Susan Tree as well as potential scouting information. So I think opening up with Amani here is a rare but correct. It's a rare choice, but in this case, it's the correct choice. It's rare that it is the correct choice, is what I'm trying to say. We'll go ahead and pick up Early Empire and head into political philosophy. And it's around about now we want to think about getting down our first districts, actually. But the problem is I can't get down my first districts until this government plaza is done, so I'm going to have to find things to fill time. It's a little bit unfortunate. We are going to have a really strong gold game this game, though. I'm really looking forward to. I really, really enjoy strong gold games. I think I would really, really enjoy if I was playing multiplayer. Oh, wait, I can actually start my harbours. This is a +5 harbour. Yeah. Okay, we can start a harbour. Question is, let's have a look at what tiles are available to this city. Okay, we've got a 4-pop maximum, so we will eventually reach 4 population without problems. And we have very little in terms of workable tiles. So that rules out the need for a granary early. This would be a 16 turn delay on my harbour. When I can get the harbour faster, start getting that +5 gold, and then potentially get my lighthouse early enough and then make these coastal tiles workable in terms of food and gold. So I think harbour into lighthouse is the right play here, and we will skip the granary. While we would like that housing because we're at our housing limit, I think it's just not particularly relevant to us because we don't actually have any tiles to work if we continue to grow this city. And can I afford this tile? I can, that's perfect. And so I'll be able to improve it next turn. You're going to jump into the water and make your way over to Takamatsu. Now there is an argument here to be made for me to go for a galley here, but I'll probably do that after I clear this barb camp. Looking at the city of Kyoto, this one is a different choice for the granary because I do actually have tiles that I could work here, right? I've got this tile and I've got this tile. And there's a couple of like random tiles here that I could make use out of if I was able to get a slightly higher population. The other thing is I could really use a trader because I really need gold to buy tiles to actually place my districts. That's kind of a limit I'm running into right now, is my tile expansion rate. There's the second fishing boat here. There is a universe where I do trade this to Takamatsu to give it an even bigger boost in the early game. But we'll see if it comes to that. Right, there's bronze working. Did we find iron? We did find iron, but it's kind of out of range of our capital city. So that will factor into our choices. I want to mine a resource. Let's come in here. Let's take out Ilkum at long last. We could plug in urban planning. I'm going to keep discipline in place, although I really want maritime industries. That +1 production is huge. Now, in terms of governor title, I don't think there's a reason to promote Omani. There is a reason to promote Pingala. We have a relatively high population capital city, so getting him established relatively early would be quite handy. I could go exploring with the final charge of this builder. It's not a completely insane thing for me to do here. We're now suzerain of Mitla. That's perfect. Let's buy the government plaza tile here, and then we'll swap it to our capital because it's cheaper if you buy it in a city that's closer to it. We'll pop down that government plaza, but we will finish the trader. Do you know what? I think getting that mining boost for the era score is so important. I'm going to divert away and leave Takamatsu on a single fishing boat for even longer while I get to work on this. I also need to make an archer for some of these city-state missions. Let's go ahead and grab Amani, and I want to pop Amani into Bandar Brunei, and we'll get to work on getting a heavy chariot. It'll take a minute, but I have to mine a resource. Right, there you go. Cleared out. Nice. Another bunch of era score. So I just want to hit good era score numbers, you know. There is a religion coming in here, which is quite handy. We will trade with Mitla. No, Nan Madal is actually 5.2 gold. It's a little bit more vulnerable going across the water. It's so much more money, though, is the thing. I'm going to take the safer trade route now, because I can actually defend it with my current army. And that's the entire logic of that decision, is that it's just a defendable trade route. I would love to get another builder here, and I think I will. Quickly grab another builder, because there's a few tiles I need to improve. And then I will likely, once I hit political philosophy, no, do you know what? I need my government plaza so I can promote Pingala. I can't delay that anymore. If I don't get my government plaza, Pingala won't be giving me the culture I need. And then once I have political philosophy, I have to go for audience chamber in order to get the science from him as well. So yeah, unfortunately my hands are a little bit tied at the moment. That's fine. 105 gold. We'll be able to buy that soon. Yeah, I'm glad I didn't go into the water. There's a barbarian galley over there. So I feel like I made the right choice. Go ahead and grab that salt tile. That'll be another luxury. That'll be dead handy, actually, because my cities are sitting pretty happy. There we go. Knowledge of the wheel has been boosted. So now we can get chariots. And we can also get water mills, which will give us another boost. So we're just kind of looking for era score right now, because it would be nice to be in a golden age in the next era, especially if we've got harbours on the way. Speaking of harbours, I actually totally forgot to actually place the harbour in Takamatsu. That is a +4 harbour right there, so we'll make sure we get that down. Wasted a little bit of production there, especially that's not great in a city that already didn't have very good production. But there's the government plaza. I need to build a heavy chariot. I need to build a water mill. I need to build a builder. And I also need to build my government building. And I also need to build settlers. So, we've got a lot on our plate here. Just a lot going on. Let's promote you a connoisseur. There we go. There's the extra culture we were talking about. And that is netting me up to 16 culture per turn, which puts me competitive with the Maori. Not like, I'm not beating them, but I'm competitive with them. So I'm wondering what this galley will do. Where it goes and what it does kind of worries me. Political philosophy is dead handy. And we have to think about what our next move is. Classical Republic is just like the classic choice because it does give you that housing and the extra amenities. That's usually a yield boost. Autocracy is really good short term because it's a +1 to all yields for each government plaza building, diplomatic quarter and palace. So this is just straight up a boost to my capital, which I will be building a government plaza building very, very shortly. So this would theoretically be +2 production, +2 food, +2 science, +2 culture, just +2 to everything in my capital, and a little bit of a boost towards wonders is kind of handy. We can always transition to Classical Republic when our cities are a little bit more established and we actually have districts. But I think right now this doesn't really do a huge amount for us. I think I would rather just get the flat yields because it's not like I'm going to be taking out discipline. Let's put Diplomatic League in because we are focusing on doing AI missions. We definitely want urban planning. What else do we want? That's a tough choice, actually. I am relying heavily on tile purchasing as it currently stands, and I'm not going to be building settlers for a minute. So I think I'll make cheaper tile purchases. I think we are going to go audience chamber here. It's a huge amount of housing and it's a huge amount of amenities as well. So what order do I get these things in? If I go audience, I think audience chamber first is the play. Now, political philosophy is complete. Where's our next stop? I do think we would like to get to military training. So I'm going to go ahead and research military. I'm going to save military tradition in case I need to change my government really quick. But I want to get games and recreation and go to military training because I really want the veterancy card, which will allow me to build my harbours faster. Then I want to go for mausoleum. So I think going for the top half of the culture tree here is the correct choice. Animal husbandry researched. Did we find any horses? We got one horse over here, which isn't too bad. We can maybe trigger a horse era score bonus. We've unlocked archery, so we want to bring this guy in to get him promoted to being an archer because that is one of the missions that Mitla has for us. May as well get those envoys if we can. And we're finally going to unlock writing, which should allow us to build some new districts. We got our monument in Takamatsu. And similarly to Fukuoka, this city doesn't really benefit from a granary as it currently stands. Rather, we just need to get that harbour up with the... Yeah, because that's just going to be a huge amount of gold that'll make up for the fact that our production is a little weak. Obviously, I'd rather have a high production start than a high gold start because production is just more useful. But I mean, I'll accept this kind of start as well. Right, there's the archer and there's the envoy with Mitla. That's perfect. So we managed to get that one done. And next up, we're going to be grabbing 2 heavy chariots, I reckon. The Takamatsu is a much better city now that it's actually working production tiles. I would love to buy this fish as well over here. And possibly even this stone tile. Getting that improved would give the city a 2-3 tile, which is basically unheard of. And that's what that builder would be used for. I'd probably put a fish here, a quarry here, and then maybe another sugar plantation. Jesus, you ungrateful sod. Why aren't you working that fishing tile? Well, if you're not going to work it, I will give it to Mitla then. Or Takamatsu, because Takamatsu needs the help. You seem to be doing fine. Okay, games and recreation is finished. Let's make our way towards military training. Very, very low production start, which has me a little bit worried that we're falling behind the AI. We did meet another AI, and we do have military tradition now. So let's talk to you. I'll send you a delegation. Oh, you don't want it. How would you like to... Oh, you've actually got quite a few luxuries. And you will trade for them happily. That is really great, actually, that I can grab those luxuries. This should boost me up into really high numbers and get me that 10% production boost across my empire. And that 10% amenity boost, it might not seem like much, but it's really carrying me. See here, we've got a campus with +3 adjacency. We can place that campus. Remember that we have to have it +3 or higher for me to actually place it. Now, if we're looking at the city of Fukuoka, I do feel that we have delayed galleys a little bit too long. So I'm going to plug in maritime industry and plug out one quick galley. It'll take me 6 turns, and then I'll get to work on the lighthouse. Coupe has spread his religion to us, and it is a decent one. It has feed the world in watts, but, you know, is it really that good? I don't think so. Right, we have access to currency now. That's a handy one. And we do now finally have the, audience chamber in our capital. So we've got a huge amount of growth. We've got a huge amount of amenities. We're getting a 20% production boost in here. This is really, really helpful. It would be better in a high production game, but I mean, the fact that we're just kind of struggling for production right now, we're going to have to just try to get as much of it as we can. Unfortunately, I have to wait until this campus is finished before I can actually place this district. So as much in a normal game, I would love to be just throwing down districts right now. That's not an option for me. And I'd love to be building settlers right now. But I think maybe I don't need this era score so much compared to builders and settlers. I definitely would like the builder. So I'll finish that, but then I think I go for a few more settlers. I should fill out my island. It's time for our second expansion wave. It would also be good to get the diplomatic quarter, if only because A, it'll help me with suzerainty of these city-states, and it's also a district I can place that doesn't require adjacency, so it's kind of handy in that way. Also, I'm going to go ahead and promote Pingala with researcher so I can get extra science. It'd be very handy to get to apprenticeship. More importantly, it would be kind of good just to boost some stuff, but you know, we're kind of teching faster than our boosts will allow. And we're still holding on par with Coupe. Now, the Incas are kind of running away with their science right now. So I'm going to take out maritime. Well, do you know what? I'm going to leave maritime industries in because I want 2 galleys. And I want 2 galleys to boost shipbuilding. So I'm going to take the time to do that. Unless I could justify buying a galley. How much is a galley? Galleys are 260. I could buy a galley pretty reasonably soon. So maybe it would be better to plug in veterancy and improve my economy at a faster rate. And I think we will. Hopefully it did kick it down to 2 turns. We can get it back up to 1 turn with some tile shuffling. Okay, perfect. We still want to finish it in 1 turn. And then we want to go straight into Lighthouse. Plus that 30% boost will help out Takamatsu. I think it is worth it. I think the switch is worth it. We will definitely be going for Mausoleum. I'm going to be taking suzerainty of Mitla. I'm going to take suzerainty of Mitla. There's our first galley. That's some good era score. Do a little explore. Now, this builder was designed for a few specific purposes, mainly to get this fish improved, to get this quarry improved, but that's 2 of the 3 build charges. Where's the other build charge getting spent? You want to buy my salt and my sugar for 25 gold per turn. Well, I don't mind if I do. I think I bought salt from someone, so I don't actually need it. I could sell my own, which might actually be the meta. Buy luxuries from one AI so you can sell your single copies to another. I think I'd really like to be suzerain of Naval because they give you +2 culture on districts adjacent to coast and lake. And I'm going to have a lot of districts adjacent to coast and lake this game. So rather than buying a galley, I'm going to actually buy a heavy chariot. But I am up to 42 gold per turn. So this is just, we're sitting at a pretty respectable rate right now in terms of gold. So this is kind of making up for the production lack in my empire. A way to think about gold is I think it's every 4 gold is equal to 1 production. Like if we take a look, right, a scout costs 30 production to produce, but 120 to buy. So this is essentially like 12.5 production that we can apply anywhere in our empire at any time. So that's like a good way to think about it, I think. Ooh, I don't like this potential aggression from this guy here. Let's bring our archer to protect. I really don't like this potential aggression here. I don't like it so much that I'm going to buy a heavy chariot in the area to dissuade them. And that'll also give me suzerainty of Bandar Brunei, which gives me another little bit of era score. So I can finally grab a Mani and send her over to Nan Madol so I can take suzerainty of that. Hopefully before it gets killed because it looks like it's dying. Kind of surprised by that. I feel like city-states are just so bad at defending themselves. And they really shouldn't be. I might have to declare war here. It depends on how well Nan Madol can defend themselves. All right, we'll see. Yeah, I really want apprenticeship, so I want to boost horse riding, though. Military tactics is something I can research that I'm never going to boost, and that'll give me time to organize my other boosts, like horseback riding. In fact, I'm probably going to move this builder to the north in order to get the horseback riding boosted ASAP. I also need I need 2 more mines, I think, and I need to plan where my cities are going to go here. I think primarily we're looking for high adjacency on our districts because that's the main restriction for this game. And we also want to preserve as many hills as possible. I reckon there's something going on here. Like, what if I settled on this tile? I put a harbour there. Then a campus could go there, right? We've got the beginnings of a city, 1, 2, 3. That leaves this little chunk of land here open. I settle here. I put a campus there eventually. That'll be a +3 when this campus finishes. And then, I don't know, like a harbour. If I put the harbour here, it's still a +4. If I put it here, it's a +4 with a potential higher adjacency with something else that can go there. So I think this works out just fine for me. So that's the 2 eastern cities. How many cities am I willing to cram up in here? Well, let's have a look. There's probably enough land here to justify 3 cities. But there's not enough resources and workable tiles to justify 3 cities. This can almost justify 2 cities, this section of land over here. But this, I think, can still only justify 2 cities. There's definitely one I feel like right here on this wheat. The problem is the harbour isn't very good, and then the follow-up districts aren't very good in here. Unless... I mean, if I settled on the wheat, this would just be a really good productive city that I could build stuff out of. And if I really wanted to, I could get another industrial zone, grab myself an aqueduct, pop down an industrial zone right here. It'll eventually be a +5 when I put another mine down. Right, that's a pretty, this is a pretty decent city, I think. We won't really get much out of it other than this. So that covers this section of the island, 1, 2, 3. Where do I want to go over here? I definitely would like to get both of these fish into one city. So that leaves me with only a handful of choices. It kind of leaves me with this area is the only really settleable area. And that really just rules out this tile right here. So if I were asking myself, where do I get the best harbour? Where do I get the best districts? And what's the best way to settle this city? Well, there's 2, I think, good places for a harbour here. This one's really, really good. Because if I settle here or here, never mind that +8, but if I settle here or here, I'll be able to get another district with adjacency. On the other hand, I could do a harbour here. It's still a decent harbour, but I don't get to use it in adjacency. And so that, to my mind, tells me I want to settle towards the north side of the island. As much as I want to settle on this sugar, I don't think I will be. Now, this city can't touch this really good harbour, so I think I'll settle off of that, plus that's a really good production tile. And I reckon I want to be close to these horses. So, decision made. This is where we're going to settle. A little bit of work to get to that point, but, I think it is worth it. Okay, this era ends in 8 turns. Is there anything I want to achieve in 8 turns before this era ends? I would have loved to have gotten a golden age. I just wasn't quite able to manage. I don't know if I can defend Nan Madol. I might be able to sneak in suzerainty of it at least. But we are going to go for feudalism. I don't think I'm going to be able to pull off a samurai timing push here. As good as it is. I didn't hit iron early enough in a city that was relevant. Maybe if I had like an iron mine or 2 in one of these cities, I would have gone for a samurai timing push. They are really damn good. And I do have the cash for it. It really depends. Can I buy iron? If I can buy iron, then a samurai timing push makes a lot more sense. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to start pre-building a few warriors. Let me have a think about this. Who would I best use my samurais on? It would probably be the Incas. The problem with this is that it delays my settling. Do I want to do a samurai timing push? You know what? I'm going to need some time to think about this. I love you all very much, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.